Specificity of training is very pertinent to resistance training. It just tells us the way we train, the benefits are very specific to the muscles that we train and the energy systems that we train. So if we're training by resistance training, we're going to have very specific adaptations as opposed to doing aerobic or running types of training and how the muscle responds. So to increase our strength, we have to do strength training as opposed to running. And then the mode that we train, we will see the benefits when we test. So when we train with free weights, we'll see the increase force generation when we test with free weights. Versus we won't see it as much when someone trains with free weights and then we look for changes with an isokinetic machine. It's also very specific to the velocity. So if we're looking for explosive types of sports where we generate a great deal of power, we should train that way if it's required by the sport. So if someone's a shot putter, where there's that explosive force, they should train very similar to what is required of that sport. And then differences between the sexes. We've said this before, males have more testosterone, so that's going to promote more muscle hypertrophy. The muscles between females and males and their ability to produce force is not different. It's just that men have more muscle than women. But when it's expressed per kilogram, you will see that women are able to produce the same amount of force. And so when we look at the way the muscles are laid out, it's very similar between a male and a female. And then just another difference is that men have proportionally greater upper body strength than females. And then as we age, we do lose muscle mass starting in our 30s. Some of this might be just deterioration with age, but it also could be decrease, loss of muscle mass with being more sedentary. And so not only do we lose the amount of muscle, we also, our muscle quality changes. And so we're more apt to lose more of our fast twitch, explosive types of muscle. And as we find as we get older, if we engage in resistance training, we can decrease those changes that occur with age or reverse them. So that's why the emphasis is the general recommendation is that we maintain some type of resistance training throughout our lifespan. And then genetics are somewhat of a limiting factor just because we all have a different distribution of type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers that can predetermine our abilities, our performance abilities in different sports. And but within our genetic limitation, we all have the ability to increase to some extent. And some of the newer studies are coming out showing some ability to change some of the different types of muscle fibers. And overtraining just has to do with we need that overload. We need to put that increased stress on our system to prompt further changes. But if we overtrain, we overstress our body, we can have a deterioration in our performance, leading to many of the symptoms that are listed on this slide. And so that's one of the cautions with resistance training is that people can get very caught up in always wanting to increase their strength and increasing workloads without having some rest periods allotted into their sequence. And then detraining is just the idea that our benefits are not permanent, that if we don't maintain resistance training, we will lose those benefits, and that would be called atrophy. And emphasis with detraining is if you have a time that you can't do your usual routine, at least doing some type of muscle contraction or resistance training, even if it's less frequent or a lower intensity, is going to delay the detraining effect. De- um, the atrophy varies from muscle to muscle. It varies genetically. It varies with the type of training that an individual does. So there's no set amount of time that we would say you lose the benefits. It's variable.